everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Hotline 21. My name is Angelica Guillen, and I am a counselor advocate at Greenhouse Shelter, which is a domestic violence shelter part of CAWC, which stands for Connections for Abused Women and Their Children. And CAWC is an agency that serves women and women with children going through domestic violence. Though, if you are to call our main office, anyone seeking services for domestic violence can also receive services through CAWC. More specifically, our shelter serves women and women with children that are going through domestic violence. So for the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about domestic violence. I'm going to be talking about CAWC, the program in general, what services we offer, how you can get in touch with us to receive services, and just giving a general broad view of what type of services we have available for victims of domestic violence. I will also be talking a little bit about what is domestic violence just in general, and I invite everyone to call us at the number that's at the bottom of your screen, and that's 312-738-1060. This is a live interactive show, so you're able to call in with your questions and pose your questions on live television, and I'll be able to answer your questions as best as I can. If for whatever reason you should want to follow up, I will also be providing our phone number for the agency, our shelter 24-hour hotline, so that you can give us a call. And I might as well do that now. So our 24-hour domestic violence hotline phone number is 773-278-4566. You can also log online to www.cawc.org to see more about what services we offer and what programs we have available. Again, our hotline number is actually 24 hours. If you call 2-3 a.m. in the morning, there will be someone that can pick up your call, and you can either ask questions about domestic violence. You can be a family or friend calling to get more information on services that we might have available, or referrals, or just basic information about domestic violence. And we invite everyone to please give us a call whatever time is more convenient for you, so that you can receive that information. So again, if you have any questions right before I begin, or just want to give us a comment, please give us a call at the number that's at the bottom of your screen, and that's 312-738-1060. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what is domestic violence. And domestic violence is all about power and control. It is about one person having control, or power, I should say, and using that power to come up with abusive tactics. Not just one single episode. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not just one specific episode, but it is a continuum of abusive tactics used against someone to be able to maintain that control over the person and over the relationship. Therefore, domestic violence can include someone that you are in a relationship with, someone that you potentially might have children in common with. It can be someone that you share a common dwelling. It can be a caregiver to someone that they're caring for. And it can absolutely include elderly couples. Domestic violence does not discriminate at all between race, gender, age, sexual orientation, economic status, education level. Anyone can experience domestic violence at any given point in their life. And so that is why it's very important for us to be able to have an open dialogue about what is domestic violence, because, as I said before, anyone at any point in their life can experience domestic violence, and it's very important for us as a community to be more engaged in what domestic violence looks like, so that if we see something, we can say something. So as I was saying before, domestic violence can be between, even, like I said, a caregiver to someone that they're caring for. So, what does that mean when we talk about power and control in that type of relationship, right? For example, so you can see how someone perhaps not administering medication to someone that they're caring for can be abusive. Maybe talking back to them, um, uh, being emotionally abusive to someone, maybe not allowing them to have contact with their financial resources, maybe purposely missing doctor's appointments or things like that. Um, so there are different ways in which someone can use whatever power they have to maintain control over another person. The most broad and general instances are physical violence, which I feel is the most common, or it's just like the most. It's something that we hear about more often, right? Or that when we think about domestic violence, we usually tend to associate physical violence as this is what domestic violence means, which makes it more harder or more difficult for other situations to take place, or for other situations in which people can then think about, am I in a domestic violence situation? So it seems like we have a caller on the line. Caller, please go ahead with your question. Thank you for calling. Hello?
Yes, hello. I have a question
Okay.
about becoming. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to know how to become uh, a domestic violence counselor or advocate. Is there any schooling or training that needs to be done?
Okay. All right. Thank you for your question, caller. That's a very good question, and an amazing one as well. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if it's you who's interested or someone that you know, but so there is the state of Illinois mandates a 40-hour training for people who want to volunteer and or be part of domestic violence agencies. So we at CAWC actually do offer that 40-hour training. And you can contact our main office for that at 773 278. I'm sorry, 773-489-9081. You can give us a call at that phone number, and then just let them know that you are looking for more information on the 40-hour training. So yeah, absolutely. And again, if you have any other questions or just want to confirm, please give us a call back at that number, 773-489-9081, or even, the hotline, if you that's a number that you're able to jot down more easily as well. And thank you so much for your interest. It seems like we have another caller on the line. Caller, please go ahead with your question.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
I don't know. It seems like we might have. Hello. I don't know. It seems like we might be having a connection error, perhaps. I'm not sure. But caller, if you're still listening, please give us a call right back so that we can answer your question. I think we have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead with your question. Hello. Hello. Okay. I'm not really sure if it's an error on our end, or I'm not really sure, but we're having someone check right now, because I can hear the calls coming through, but we're just unable to actually hear the question. I don't know if the person is just not able to hear me. So if you guys can call back, we'll try and see if we can patch your call through again. So meanwhile, I will talk about the different types of domestic violence, as I was saying before. Physical, which is the most, the one that people think about the most when we talk about domestic violence. Um, perhaps because it's something that's more visible. A lot of the times we hear victims of domestic violence be questioned by just different people in terms of, if it's not something that they can see, it's kind of hard for people to believe that someone is going through domestic violence. Also, emotional domestic violence, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse as well. All of these are different types of abuse, and a person doesn't necessarily have to be going through just one type of abuse. It can be multiple or 2 or 3 at the same time at different time frames. So it seems like we might have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead with your question. Hello? 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 No? Okay. Okay, so it seems like we're still checking. I'm so sorry. For whatever reason, the calls are just not coming through. I guess we're just not like able to actually get them connected. So if you can, I don't know if you guys want to try, give me a call in about 2-3 minutes. We're trying to see if someone can see what the error is. We're checking on that. So what I want to do a little bit is just talk about just some examples of the different types of abuse. So physical abuse, as I said before, is the one that people think about the most, where it's something that we can see. It'll be bruises, punching the other person, pulling their hair sometimes, spitting, pushing them, hitting them with objects, even threatening them with objects, causing some kind of physical harm to the other person. So those are kind of examples of like what a physical violence is. A lot of the times, because of physical violence, people will seek medical services. Unfortunately, not everyone does, whether because they might be afraid that the abuser will continue their abusive behavior and it might escalate into being more abusive, physically abusive, or just emotionally the abuser has threatened them not to seek medical services for a variety of reasons. And so it might be something that we can see physically, it doesn't mean that it'll always get addressed the way that it should be. Sexual violence is something that I think is a little bit more taboo. We don't tend to hear about it as often. We don't tend to talk about it as often. One of the reasons is because if the abusive relationship is between a couple, people tend to think that... Hello?
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hi. I wanted to know if I have a friend who is in an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if I call the police and report the person and have him arrested, or must she actually be the one to make the phone call?
Okay. Thank you so much for your question. So there's a couple of factors that play into that situation, and I'm going to try and answer your question as best as I can with the limited information that I have. If you are present when it happens, you are able to call the police, and the police will probably end up showing up and either arresting the person, or at that point it is actually depending on the victim, or if there was a number of people that witnessed what happened, the police can then take the decision to have this person arrested, just because there was enough people there that saw the abuse happen, that then they can say, well, we are actually going to have to arrest him because enough people saw the abuse that happened. If you're not there when it happens and you're calling just sort of as a follow-up, hey, my friend just called me and said that this is going on, you absolutely can do that. The tricky part becomes whether the response that law enforcement is going to have in regards to that specific situation. What we can do is, talk to you a little bit more about the situation. Preferably if your friend could give us a call so that we can talk to her about the abuse that's going on. I think it would be important to safety plan with your friend and just sort of make sure that if this does happen again, what would be the plan set up for her to be able to follow that moving forward. Okay, so I hope that sort of answers your question. Again, please give us a call at our hotline number if you have any more questions, or if you just want to give me a little bit more details about that. Okay, and it seems like we have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead with your question.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, caller? You're on the air? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think that call was also disconnected. I don't know if it might be something going on their end of the line. Okay, so again, as I was saying, in terms of sexual violence, a lot of the times people think that because I am with this person, that this is something that, is natural and has to happen. The issue becomes when there's a person that is not comfortable with the situation. If your partner is forcing you to do things that you don't want to do and you feel uncomfortable in doing them, if your partner is forcing you to do things that are painful and not being more supportive of you in that way, if your partner is forcing you to perform sexual acts that you are unwilling or do not want to do, if your partner is forcing you to, or if this person is forcing you to sleep with other people, that is also sexual abuse. If your partner is, withdrawing affection and things like that, in a way where they can then use sexual coercive behaviors, that is also sexual abuse. Emotional abuse is more if this person is calling you out of your name, if they're making you feel bad, if they are threatening you, making you feel unsafe, unstable in your home, if they're making threats such as taking away the children, if they're making threats about calling DCFS on you, if they're making threats because the abuser knows that, you've had alcohol for the past month. They might say, hey, listen, I'm going to call DCFS because you're such a terrible mother, or, you're such a terrible person that I'm just going to call DCFS on you. A lot of the times, substance abuse plays a big role in domestic violence. Not that alcohol and substance abuse causes domestic violence, but it's a huge factor in that either the abuser has forced the victim to use alcohol and drugs as a way to keep that power and control that we were talking about, or the victim is going through so much pain that the only way they have found to cope is by using alcohol and drugs. And so a lot of the times we see that alcohol and drugs are a big part of domestic violence situations. We also talk to people about the fact that even if you yourself have not used alcohol or drugs, but if that is something if the abuser is using it, it plays a role in your relationship. It plays a role in the dynamics of the family. It plays a role in the way that children are growing up with, this person being abusive and also using or abusing substances. And therefore, a lot of the times, this emotional abuse comes into play where a victim is threatened with this as a way to continue to maintain that power and control over someone. So I wanted to, actually I'm going to put on the overhead again one more time our 24-hour hotline. And so for those of you that have called with for those of you that have called already with questions and either want to give us a call back so that we can talk things through, or if I can make something more clear, please give us a call back at the 24-hour hotline. It's 773-278-4566. Anytime that you call, someone will be able to pick up the phone. And it seems like we might have another caller on the line. Caller,
Hi,
go
my
ahead.
question regarding domestic violence is I see that a lot of little girls see that their mothers go through abusive relationship with their fathers. So my question is, when they grow up, do they feel that if they're not in an abusive relationship, like they saw with their mother's father doing that to their mothers, do they feel like they are not in a committed relationship or a fulfilling relationship? That is my question.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that is a really good question. The last time that we were here, I had someone call in with a question in terms of how do children are affected by domestic violence. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, children are absolutely affected by domestic violence. And there's no real cookie cutter way in which children are affected by domestic violence. And yet we know that they are, right? Whether that be because they've learned more about abusive relationships, or whether because at some point they find themselves in an abusive relationships as well. So I feel like your question is a little bit geared towards how it affects children, specifically girls, as they grow up. And this is a conversation that we absolutely have with clients at the shelter all the time in terms of what are their children learning from the abusive relationship that they see being experienced. And absolutely, I mean, children will grow to believe that this kind of behavior is acceptable to some degree. Children at whatever age, we've seen children actually be upset at their mothers for staying in abusive relationships. Children know that what's going on. Children know that their mother is in an abusive relationship. A lot of the times children are used as a way to keep power and control over the relationship, whether that be because the child is put in the middle of a situation physically, in between fights, or even the child is used as a way to keep some kind of communication between the abuser and the victim. Definitely we see a lot of the times the abuser will use a child to continue to maintain that control over the victim. And so a lot of the times, yes, we do see that girls grow up with that experience of domestic violence, and it shapes the way that they have, who they have become. So just as I said last month, while we were on the phone and someone called with a question about children, it is very, very important, imperative that children who experience domestic violence be able to receive services such as counseling at whatever age they're able to, especially if they're able to get the services as a child. If not, I do encourage, and I think as a domestic violence community, we do encourage people that have gone through domestic violence, even as a child, to receive counseling services and just learn more about how they were impacted as a child by domestic violence. And I think that would be very helpful for children who've experienced domestic violence. And I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for calling. And please, if you have any more questions, give us a call at the hotline number. And it seems like we have another caller on the line.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I just had a quick question. See if you have any advice that you can give me. I have a friend who I believe is in a domestic violence situation. However, he's not physical with her. But he does, however, restrain her from hanging out with us sometimes, financially as well. But, of course, it's progressed slowly. It wasn't like he did it. It wasn't like he was like that all the time. And so it's kind of hard for her to see that it is abusive relationship. So I was just wondering if you had any tips or any advice that I can give to her just so that she can see the situation that she's in.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for your question. I think that's an amazing question. that is exactly the way that domestic violence works. It starts off with being a good relationship, per se, and it slowly builds into one abusive tactic after another, after another, after another, to the point where then the victim has kind of lost the sense of, when has this shifted from becoming this good relationship that we had at the beginning to now this what's happening. And I think that your examples of this person being financially abusive, not letting his partner go out, all of that definitely sounds like it's an abusive relationship. And I would say, let her know how you feel first and foremost. Listen to your friend, provide her with that support, that lend her with, all of your listening skills, and let her know that you're there for her. And absolutely give her the phone number to our hotline as well, so that your friend can give us a call and we might be able to answer more of her questions. You can also give us a call so that you can let us know if you have any more questions as well. So thank you so much to everyone that has called. Truly, it was an amazing show. If you have any other questions, please give us a call at the hotline, and we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So thank you very much for joining us, and join us next month again. Thank you.